Hi friends, this is FirearmPop, and this is chapter 4 of my war stories. Now, this chapter is going to deal mainly with being on the firing line in North Vietnam. Now, once we got assigned on the firing line, we finally reached our destination. Our duty was to patrol the coast from the DMZ, the militarized zone, to into North Vietnam. And what we did was get firing coordinates and fire on shore positions. Always generally staying out of range any shore batteries or small arms fire from the shore. Although on occasion we did have to go in closer, and I'll cover those in detail. But so what we did our normal day was going up and down the coast, getting firing coordinates and firing. So all day long we sporadically be shooting. It was life as normal. It wasn't at general quarters, and that's how we spent our days. One of the interesting things was as we were on these patrols, there'd be a lot of junk fishing boats. These are, small little boats. I'll show a picture of one here, and they'd have their fishing nets out. At least that's what they pretended to be. But we couldn't take a chance. We could not get anywhere near close because they've been known to have either small arms or be booby traps. As we got closer, they detonate and damage the ship. So we had a routine, and that routine was a couple of soundings of the ship's horn as a warning for them to get out of the way. And if they didn't move, and they wouldn't, if they were fishing, because they have their fishing nets in the water, you'd actually, I used to go outside to watch it because it was interesting. You'd see the 5-inch 54 mount just line up, and we give them another last warning, and if they didn't move out of our way, we moved them out of the way. I've seen men just jump off when they saw that they were going to get shot at imminently, and we just blow up those little junks, any one of them that got in our way. Anyway, it was a tough thing to see once in a while, but it was a necessary evil keeping the ship safe. Okay, one of the other things that we get to, one of the first times we actually took on some hostile fire from ashore, and it was small arms fire. Now, the other thing I need to explain is our ship was, yes, the bottom hull was steel, but everything from the main deck up was aluminum superstructure, and that was just to lighten the weight and give us a little bit more in speed. Okay, but being aluminum, a 50 cal would go right through, and my galley that I worked and the mess decks were on the main deck of my ship. So anytime there was any kind of small arms fire, we were right in the line of fire. And I'll never forget this one time. We were standing in the galley door, and it was myself and another cook and our first class petty officer who was in charge of the galley. And he's kind of standing in the mess decks. I'm standing in the galley, and you can hear the fire, and you can hear they started sounding hostile fire, oh man your battle stations. And he just went into a duck walk, and he started walking around the galley, not knowing which way to go. And I just stood there laughing, just watching this seasoned first-class petty officer who has been serving for a while. He just didn't know which way to go, and it was obvious. I mean, during general quarters, you had to go man your general quarters battle station. Anyway, so I stood there laughing for, I don't know, it seemed like forever. It might have been a couple of seconds. Then realizing that I could get shot, moved myself into down below decks where I belonged, down in the magazine to one of the turrets. One of the other things, since we fired all day, and remember I told you I slept most of the days because I worked all night, my rack, my bunk, was right next to, I didn't know it when I chose it, a elevator. The magazine that loaded the turret that fed the 5-inch 54 up ahead, the magazine was below, and right alongside was the elevator. So all day long you'd hear, of course, gunfire, because they always kept the turret loaded. But every time they would fire around, they'd bring up another round from the turret down below, and that would go right alongside my bunk, ba-boom, right over my head, a 5-inch 54. So, that's one of the things till today. I sleep through thunderstorms, and my wife can't understand why, but I sleep like a rock. Once I'm asleep, because for a long time, it was either learn to sleep during those kind of noises, or not sleep at all. So you get tired enough, you sleep. Okay, then I back up a bit. Life at sea. On Sundays, we didn't have a priest on board, and we didn't have any other clergy. My ship wasn't big enough, only 300 guys. And so on Sundays they would announce services. We'd have Catholic services, and I was a Catholic at the time, on the mess decks for an hour. Then an hour later there'd be Protestant or non-Catholic services on the mess decks. And so I started attending, not because I was overly religious, but because it was a way to get out of duty. And so I arrived there for Catholic services, and there was, my memory serves me correct, no more than 4 or 5 of us, 6 at tops. And that included a lieutenant who just kind of administered a prayer service, because we didn't have a priest to hold official Catholic Mass. And that was it. That was every Sunday out at sea. During those 2 hours, they would have a chaplain services. Okay, we didn't have a chaplain; it was a lieutenant. Lieutenant would do the Catholic service, and then another lieutenant would do the Protestant service. Okay, and I tell you that because that was just a normal way of life on board ship. Okay, the day after we took on our first hostile fire, I hear an announcement that we're getting a helo transfer. And so I go out and look, and sure enough, I didn't know what was coming in by helo, but all of a sudden helo comes and lowers a man. Well, that's all I could see. And so I went back to bed, and then half hour later I hear an announcement that confessions are being heard on the mess decks. So I said, well, gee, I'm a Catholic, and at this point with hostile fire and mortality, okay, on the edge, the day before, I said I better go, and there's only 6 of us that go to Catholic services, so I better get up there quickly and do this. So I get dressed and I go upstairs onto the main deck and proceed to the mess decks, and then I see a line. So I go out and try to find the end of the line. Well, the line to go to Catholic confession was around the ship. Okay, there had to be 100 to 150 guys on that line waiting to go to confession. So that is my atheist story. That it just reinforces the old adage: there are no atheists in foxholes. And it's funny how the Navy brought in a priest the day after hostile fire, and I guess they know what they're doing. They've been there before, and to watch 150 guys or so all line up to go to confession was a sight for sore eyes. And I said, wow, there are no atheists in foxholes. Okay. With those few stories, I'm going to end this chapter 4 of my war stories. Hope you've enjoyed them so far, and we'll continue on with more stories of on the firing line in Vietnam next time. So you can friend me on Facebook at FirearmPop. You can find me on the web at FirearmPop.com, or this is FirearmPop. Be safe out there, and God bless. Bye now.